So welcome everybody. My name is Beth Hicks and I am the Managing Director of Marketing for the Design Center at the Mart. And welcome to the Business of Design lecture series. Today our topic is The Mindset Matters, Create Focus and Increase Productivity. We can all use your help strengthening our focus and increasing productivity these days. Today, we're going to learn about some skills that ultimately create more time and energy for you to devote to building the life and business you truly desire. So our guest today is Desi Creswell, an award-winning interior designer who worked for several well-known large design and architecture firms before establishing her own design practice. Now a certified business coach, Desi empowers designers with her blend of industry-specific expertise and mindset coaching. Her passion is to help designers build thriving businesses that enrich and support their lives as a whole. Desi has been featured in many popular podcasts as a co-author of LuAnn Nigara's upcoming book, A Well-Designed Business, Volume 2. Welcome, Desi. We're glad that you're here, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. All right, my full screen for you, Beth. All right, welcome. All right, so thank you all for being here. I am just delighted to have the opportunity to speak to you. I know you are all very, very busy, and that could have been a really great reason to not come today. So I'm glad that you didn't use that as an excuse and you are using the opportunity to be here to get what you need. So before we get started, I have a few questions for you, and I'm curious to see what resonates. But are you constantly behind, trying to keep up with client requests, meeting deadlines, and let's not forget about running the actual business? Do you ever feel stressed or overwhelmed or just plain mentally exhausted? And is your experience of the day really that of the grind or being on that hamster wheel where things feel like they're slipping through the cracks? And let's talk about the revenue not, reflecting what it is that you're actually doing. I know that all of you are so committed to putting out gorgeous designs for your clients and providing a really high quality experience. And you are all so talented, but that you have a bigger vision for your business. And when we get stuck in this hamster wheel spinning cycle of busy, we don't have the time to really devote to creating the business that we truly, truly want. So I want you to know that if you answered yes to one of the questions that I posed at the beginning, you are definitely in the right place. You've shown up here because you know what you've been doing hasn't been working and you are ready to take a different approach. Because if we want different results, we have to take a different approach. And by being here, you are taking that to the next level with not only using the tactics of creating focus and productivity, but also addressing the mindset component. So today is the day that I want you to consciously decide to shift your mindset towards productivity. And this is really where the sustainable, lasting change is going to come from. It's really not having another time tracking app on your phone or having the willpower to stay on track throughout the day. It is really the solution. It really begins with you. And I'm going to show you that in the upcoming presentation. So by the end of today, it's really my intention that you walk away feeling more at ease and in control of your day. And more importantly, how that translates to feeling more at ease and in control of your business, because that is ultimately what I want for you. I'm going to share my screen. And I'll get started. So just a little overview of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how mindset directly impacts your focus and productivity. The number one thing you can do to stop feeling overwhelmed immediately, and how focus goes against our natural tendencies and really try to work on solving that for yourself. And then I've got some tools that you can start using today to really start feeling better in your daily experience and also start to increase your productivity right away. Now, Beth gave a little bit of an introduction, but let me give you a little bit more background. This is more of my credentials page, but I do think that it is important. And one of the things that I just want to celebrate right now is that one of the firms that I worked for when I was a practicing interior designer actually was in Chicago. So this feels very full circle for me. I worked for Getty's, a hospitality design firm right in downtown. And so I remember going and using the Mart as a designer. And so this just feels incredible to be here to be sharing this knowledge with you through such an amazing, trusted resource. And additionally, I went on to really create my own business. And so I understand the commercial and the residential side of business. And I use the industry knowledge that I have really paired with my life coach certification. So you'll find that my work is really based in a lot of self-development and learning to be the best version of you and how that translates into everything in your life, including your business. Really, what brought me to coaching was my vision for my interior design practice was that it was going to be the vehicle for giving me freedom and fun and flexibility. That was really the impetus behind starting my own interior design practice. I had been in commercial for quite some time and realized that I loved the work, but the structure of the working environment and the number of hours I was working was just not going to be conducive to the lifestyle that I really envisioned. And part of that was starting a family with my husband. And so I started my residential practice thinking it would give me these things. And while I did have a lot of success with my business, what I found was I ended up really creating just another job for myself. I found that I was saying yes to all the clients because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I found that I was wearing all of the hats just because I could. And it really ended up leaving me feeling overwhelmed and burned out. And I didn't feel that I had a choice. I wanted to really have this amazing life and thrive there, but I also wanted to have a really incredible, professional experience as well. And that's what brought me to coaching and starting to find how I can create the and in my life. And I really define that as a business that supports and sustains the life that I want to live and vice versa, that these two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. And so I want to share that as an example of how we can start to look at our businesses differently, that they don't have to be separate silos from our lives. They can coexist and actually really beautifully intertwine together. Today, this is really the work that I do with my clients. And we really dive deep into creating sustainable systems in their business and really expanding what is possible for them and challenging them to grow in a way that is aligned with their life goals. So I'm going to give you just a quick pep talk over setting yourself up for success here. So we are here talking about creating focus. So this is your first opportunity to help create focus for yourself. So I want you to put away your phone, turn off the notifications on your computer, get your notebook and pen on hand so that you can take some notes here. And then also just really be open to a new approach. So by the time we end today, I know that you're going to be feeling calmer and more empowered to take on your day in a way that really serves your goals. So we're first going to start by talking about the importance of mindset. And that, of course, begins with just understanding what is mindset and why we have to begin there. It's really the point at which I start with all of my clients. So mindset, what does that mean in relation to productivity and focus? Really, mindset is just a collection of beliefs or thoughts that we have about ourselves, our business, our clients. There's really just sentences in our brain that we've thought so many times that we believe them to be true, or we've chosen to believe that they are true. And the best news about this is that we have the option to shift our mindset because they are just sentences in our brain. That means that we can be intentional about where we put our time, energy, and focus in terms of where our mental capacity is going. So addressing mindset really in relation to focus means that you are not going to believe the stories or the running narrative, as I sometimes say, about how much there is to do, how out of control the business feels, how it feels like the business is running you, or even just what those excuses are of why you're not getting to the goals that you say you want to get to within your business. Now, as humans, we have thousands of thoughts per day. And so that is why we always start with the mindset pieces, because we're building awareness of what that story is that we're crafting for ourselves around how we are perceiving what's on our to-do list or the requests that are coming in from clients. It's really important to be aware of that because that is going to be driving every result that you get in your business. One of the coaching tools that I use is from my mentor, Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School. And don't worry about jotting this all down. Just know that it's a framework that can be really helpful to be thinking about. And I'll give you an example of how this would play out. But it's called the model. And there's really 5 interrelated components to the model. There's the circumstance, which is really the objective facts, the neutral, boring facts of our lives. Everything in the world is neutral until we have a thought about it. So we have that thought or that sentence, and that's really the meaning that we assign to those neutral facts or the way that we interpret them. Then what actually happens in our body, and I think this is just incredible, is that when our brain has one of those thoughts, it actually creates a chemical reaction in our body that translates to a feeling. And a feeling is an emotion that we experience in the body when we have that thought. And then our feelings, I really like to think about this as our fuel for the actions that we want to be taking, or sometimes it relates to fuel for inaction. So the reason we might not be doing something that we really want to be doing. And then of course, as we all know, the actions or inactions in our lives, that's really what creates our experience of our day, of our business, of our lives, and also the more tangible results too that we have, whether it's the profit statement at the end of the year, number of clients that you are bringing in the door on a regular basis. So just keep that in mind. It's really important to think about this in the lens of productivity is not just about the actions. Typically, that's what we find in more common approaches to productivity, is that it's all based on the actions. But we know that if we just needed the actions, we wouldn't need, anything else. You wouldn't be here right now because we have Google. You could Google how to be productive, how to be focused, and just follow a 5-step approach. But the problem is the how is not enough. And that is why we bring the mindset piece into this as well, because what we're thinking and what we're believing is the reason why we do or don't do the how, essentially. So we are the ones who get in our own way, and the mindset and awareness piece of this and the coaching that I provide my clients is really how we get out of our own way so that we can follow through on the how that we actually want to be taking. So we also have to remember here that there is no perfect system. There is no one singular how. So I want you to keep that in mind, because oftentimes what I see clients get stuck with is that they think that if they can just find the perfect system, that then they'll be productive. But we don't have to wait for the perfect system to arrive, because it doesn't exist, first of all, and we can create our own perfect system based on how we work. And really what this means is being open to this approach is that you're going to be able to change the current results, because your current results are based on your current beliefs. And so if we want to change those future results, we're going to have to choose to believe things differently. And there's a cost really, and I'm sure that you've all seen it, of not addressing this productivity and focus issue all and for once. So part of this is, it means that if you don't do this, you're going to continue to feel stressed no matter how many clients you serve or what support you hire. I talked to several designers this week who are interested in joining my group program. And one of them, was reflecting like, I just want to retire. And another one was really thinking she needed to hire a ton of people in her business. And what we found is those aren't really the root issues of the number of clients you're taking on or just the amount of support staff. Those are pieces we can definitely address, but our brain's always going with us. So if you're feeling stressed with, 5 clients, if you don't address those patterns from the get-go, you're still going to feel stressed with 3 clients. And if you don't take care of what those group expectations are for your employees and how they interrupt you throughout the day, whether you have additional support in place or not, there's still going to be this level of stress. We also really miss out on opportunities to creatively problem solve in our business and get better results from what we're already doing. When our emotions are high, when we're in that state of overwhelm and stressed out and exhausted, our intelligence is very low and we don't get to capitalize on what we do as designers, which is creative problem solving. Also, you're going to have misaligned priorities in your business. The input of everyone else's priorities is going to continue to take over your own priorities. And I'm sure that a lot of you have seen this happen, where you get a call and all of a sudden the day is just gone and you didn't get to what you know is going to move the needle forward in your business. And also, this really is how money is being left on the table in so many design businesses. When we're scattered and distracted, our time is not spent efficiently, and that ends up not getting billed to the client, or we say that we can't bill the client because we were so ping-ponging all over the place. So know that this is an opportunity here, this work right here, to actually increase your profits. Now, with my clients, we go very deep into this mindset piece. And with my group program, Out of Overwhelm, that is, again, where we start. And we talk a lot about overwhelm and just what it is, how it plays out in your business. And I want to make sure that you have a specific piece of this work to really walk away with. The first piece of this is understanding what overwhelm actually is. And it's not something that's happening outside of you. It's coming from your thinking, because overwhelm or overwhelmed is a feeling, and that is created by our thinking. So if you think back to the model that I presented with you earlier in this presentation, we can see how this plays out, and I'll be giving you a specific example. So I would consider overwhelm, it falls under the category of an indulgent emotion. And indulgent emotions really are feelings that waste our time and keep us stuck. So it's important to start to notice when you slip into one of these indulgent emotions. They can feel very, very busy. They can feel like spinning or ping-ponging in your head. And it feels active when you're in that overwhelm or like hastily moving around kind of feeling. But in reality, it doesn't produce anything useful for us. So other examples that would be great for you all to be watching out for in your business or just even in your day, right? Because we've got a lot of opportunities to be overwhelmed throughout our entire lives. We've got indecision, that's another one. Self-doubt, self-pity, being anxious or worried. These all really pretend to be necessary, but they aren't going to actually move you forward. They're going to keep you stuck. Or like indecision, it often has us actually rewinding the work we've done, where we're redeciding decisions we've already made, whether it's fabric selections we've made on a project or business decisions, we're constantly revisiting the decision, and so we don't ever make the decision to move forward. So just some other emotions that you can be watching out for as you go on. Now, I wanted to give you a specific example of how overwhelm plays out and how you can really use your mindset to address overwhelm and get you out of it quickly. So on the left side, left side, we've got the default thinking, and on the right, we've got the intentional. So the default is just your regular way of thinking. It's what your brain wants to offer up to you on a regular basis. It feels like your norm. We could also be thinking about this in like two different designers, right? Thinking differently about exact same things on their to-do list. And one of the things that I love about this practice is that everything can totally shift for you without anything actually shifting for you. And so take this away. That's what one of my clients, when after the very first session of our group program, she was just like, I feel like such a weight has lifted off me because of this approach. So it could really, really start to affect your days immediately. So give this a try. But let's look at just the default thinking pattern. We've got our neutral circumstance, which is 2 client presentations scheduled for a Tuesday. One thought you could be having about this is, I'll never get this done. And then that's going to lead you to feel very, very overwhelmed. And then when you're feeling overwhelmed, we can ask, what are you doing or not doing? And you might find that you're tackling more of those urgent items like email and those quick win type items. You know the ones I'm talking about. I know you do. And you might be spinning in your head about all the things that you have to do, when you're going to do them, what you're going to do first. Again, that indecision is popping up of like, should I do this first? Should I do that first? You're working very inefficiently and you're probably buffering. And buffering is, the way I would define it, is using something external to manage your internal emotions. So often we'll see ourselves getting overwhelmed or feeling anxious. And so that's when we'll like grab for a snack or feel like we need to go check Instagram. We're wanting to escape the negative emotion that we're experiencing. So when we look at all these actions that come from the state of overwhelm, we see that we actually do create a delay in our work through all of the mental activity and working on things that aren't related to the end goal, which is getting that client presentation done, only further proving to ourselves that you're never going to get it done. Now let's contrast that to the intentional thinking. So you notice you're in overwhelm and you can intentionally decide to shift the way that you're thinking about it. As you can see, nothing needs to change. You have 2 client presentations scheduled on a Tuesday. And instead of thinking, I'll never get this done, you can be thinking, I know exactly what to do next. You're focusing on the next best step that's going to move that presentation forward. That's going to lead you feeling decisive. What you're going to do when you're feeling decisive is plan out your day. Break the project down into really small individual tasks. You're going to look for solutions, people that can help you, moving some things around on your calendar if they're not as pressing as getting to this presentation. And you're going to be making decisions quickly. I cannot tell you the importance of making decisions swiftly, committing and going all in and taking that next best step. It is going to skyrocket your productivity. And also it is so closely tied to how much money you're going to make in your business. I guarantee this. Indecision is so expensive. So make sure you're taking that away from this as well. So when you're doing all these things where you're moving swiftly, you're going to move through the work of, very efficiently, and you're going to get a plan in place and get the projects done with time to spare. So we can see just in this contrast alone how incredible this can be. I'm just going to stop my share for just a second here. And okay, so let's have you all reflect. Maybe you even have a pen and paper right by you so that you could take a look and think, just to get some more awareness. I want you to reflect on the last time you felt overwhelmed. Just jot it down on some paper. And then I want you to ask yourself, if I had not been able to indulge in overwhelm So let's say I could wave a magic wand and say, you're no longer allowed to feel that emotion. What would you have done differently? How would you have approached what felt very overwhelming to you in a new way that would have actually served you? So take a minute to just think about that. And then I want you to just even extrapolate, like what would be the impact, not just even on that one task that you were going to tackle, but on your day, your week, your month, your years. It's really something that creates an incredible ripple effect for you. So once we recognize that overwhelm is optional, because our thoughts and our beliefs are all optional, making overwhelm optional, we can really begin to eliminate our reactive behaviors and create a ton of focus for ourselves. So taking this teaching of overwhelm being optional, that's the first step. And that's really about taking back your power. And that means really, instead of being at the effect of whatever is happening either in your business or on a job site, you don't have to let the stress and anxiety derail your day. And you can actually start to take the power back and create that focus and productivity for yourself, because we always get to decide how we're going to show up, no matter what's on our plate or what gets added to it. And that is such an empowered place to come from when you are leading yourself in your business. So what does it mean to be focused? This is the definition that I love of focus. And it really means to have a single point of attention. And now if you think about this, this is very difficult to do, but it is doable in the current world that we live in. There's just so many things that could potentially pull our focus away from that single point. But that is what we want to be aiming for, is to really be having our attention on that singular task, because we say that we multitask, but multitasking is not actually a thing. Having focus on multiple things at once is really not possible, and it is slowing you down so much in your day. And really, our brain, our human brain that we all have, is wired to be seeking out novelty, pleasure, and also to be efficient. So being reactive is kind of the natural human state. If you think evolutionarily speaking, that's what we were wired for. We needed to be scanning the environment to stay safe. But that's not serving us anymore. And we can actually train ourselves. It's a skill to not have that be our default pattern. We also kind of want to talk about too, that the busy work, right? We talked a little bit about this, the overwhelm of like checking the email, right? The reason that we are lured to that busy work is because of our brain's tendency to seek pleasure. We want the quick wins. When we cross off that quick little thing on our to-do list, or we respond to the email or the text, we actually get a little hit of dopamine, the feel-good feeling or hormone in our body. And so that rewards us for doing those checking behaviors that we are all prone to be doing with our phones and our email. And so I want you to know that that is totally normal, but it doesn't need to be your normal, if you know what I mean. So we want to be able to trade the short-term satisfaction of that little ping with the long-term satisfaction of getting your work done in a timely manner, not working in the evening or on the weekends, having a consistent flow of projects that are coming in and a consistent flow of income coming in, because you are regularly and swiftly moving things through the office. So what this means is that we don't have to wait for our circumstances to change. Focused is a feeling that we can create for ourselves. We don't need to wait for it to happen. And I love this approach because often what I'll hear from clients is they just wish they could find like 4 hours of time that they could sit in their office with 0 people bugging them. And while you could set yourself up to do that, that is an option. Oftentimes we want to be able to be available to the contractor who's on the job site or to our vendor who's got a question about the PO we just submitted. And we need to find ways to structure our day so that we can, one, set expectations of what that's going to look like for ourselves, but also know that if we do get interrupted, it doesn't have to be a problem. We don't have to wait for the perfect stars to align. We can start creating this for ourselves. One of the ways we do this is taking responsibility for our own focus and not blaming others for our lack of it. So we can do this in so many ways, but I love to ask myself, how did I create this for myself? So if you are having tons of interruptions throughout the day or being pinged on multiple platforms throughout the day, ask yourself, like, how did I create this? Because when we decide that it's something that we can take responsibility for, that means we can also be the solution. So if I created it, I can also do something about it. And that's something that I talk to so many of my clients about, is then getting really solution focused. These things are happening. So let's take responsibility for the problem and then the solution, and then we can move forward. This is so important, because when we get stuck in the cycle of reactivity, which is often that busy work, we're spending so much time thinking then about how little time we have, as opposed to using the time to our benefit. And one, this is not effective in terms of just a general time management approach, but it's also really mentally exhausting to have that constant spin. And if we continue to give away our power, thinking that we have to wait for focus to magically tap us, we aren't ever going to make a shift. So I want to give you a really powerful question that you can ask yourself when you're finding either you're wanting to get distracted by that busy work, or it's feeling like you just simply have too many things to do in a day. And that is, how can I make the best use of the time I do have? We look at what is available to us and then maximize the time that is available, as opposed to thinking about how it's not enough time to be getting what you want done. How we approach our days really directly impacts the amount of value we create for ourselves, for our business, and for our clients. And that, of course, is going to directly relate to, the success of our business. So again, I just want to stress the importance of this right now. I wanted to give you just some helpful little thoughts too you could be thinking as you go through your day, in terms of shifting your thinking, that you can lean on, because as we begin this work, it's really helpful to have the support, and I can be that support for you right now on this call. So some of the things you could be thinking in terms of helpful thoughts would be like, I'm doing this now. So when you're thinking there's so much to do, you can bring your focus back of, I'm doing this now, or this is my priority in this moment. And one of my favorites is, that will be there later. I especially love that one for Instagram. When my brain wants to offer up, I want to see what's happening over there, I'm like, that'll be there later. I can go look at that later. So another thing that we can do here, and this is something that I share with all of you, I'll be sharing the link for it for the daily planner that I am happy to offer you all, but it's one of the tactics that's included in there. But this tactic alone of planning for results is so powerful. And it'll be a real shift to the way that you are used to doing your to-do list and planning out your day. I really want you to walk away with some actionable tactics and be able to start implementing this work right away. And I'll give you the link to download the planner as well, because that's going to help you implement this work even further. So the thing you're going to start to do is start planning for results. You're going to stop planning for tasks and actually plan for the completed product. And now this can seem sort of subtle, but we want to get really clear when we're planning out our day, what is the actual thing that will be produced by the end of the time that I've given myself. So as opposed to having a very open-ended task, we create the specific result that we want to create for ourselves. And what this does is really focuses us on the task at hand and helps us see what we are aiming for, because otherwise tasks can be so open-ended. We need to also decide how long we want something to take. And this is important because of Parkinson's law. Tasks just simply expand the time that we give them. So we need to define, one, what we're doing within the given time, but also give that piece of work a defined time period. And it can be a little challenging to do this at first, because if you're not used to tracking your time or being diligent about that, it can feel like a bit of a guess. And that's truly what it is when we start this out, is you take your best guess, but you'll get valuable information as you move along with this process of understanding, like, what does a revision on a lighting plan take me typically. It also, planning for results really gives us a sense of completion, because as you know, often with design work, you could do it forever. We can always be tweaking, we can always be refining. And so we never know what is enough unless we define it for ourselves, or what the completed product is. And this allows things to then just bleed into your entire day. And often then you're like, what happened to the day? It's 3 p.m. I don't know where the day went. And this is a tool to help bring you back into focus so that you can stay on track throughout the day. It's also really important if you have like a fixed fee that you use for your clients. Typically, we would be making that estimate based on what it's going to take to deliver that product. And so we can be using that estimate against what we're planning our day for, to make sure that we're not spending too much time on certain tasks or activities or selections within the project, so that we can be very profitable with those fixed fees. One of the other things that I often see people have a little bit of a misstep with this planning the results that I want to make sure we touch on, is that all projects or results in our business are really made up of lots of mini results. And the larger the project, the more mini results you're going to have. But creating the mini results really allows you to dive into specific pieces of a project. So I want to give you a specific example. So a vague task could be write blog post. And we see write blog post on our to-do list, and we're going to start feeling overwhelmed, because, like, where do we start? How long is that going to take us? I don't know what all the steps are. I don't even know what I'm going to write about right now. And then that leads to us putting off the task. But if we recognize that there's many results within that blog post, then we have a very clear plan of action, and we can, put little pieces of those things on our calendar and start checking them off as we go, which moves you forward so much more swiftly. So you always are going to know what to be doing next and what that next best step is. So to give you an example of how we might break down the blog post, we could say we've got to brainstorm 3 blog topics. Then we've got to decide the blog topic, pick one of them. You got to write a headline, outline the post, write the post. You're going to edit the post. You need to select an image for the post. And then, of course, this goes on if there's more steps involved in the uploading and all of that. So that's just an example of mini results. And it's just so helpful in moving you forward. And if you do happen to have those interruptions, you know exactly where you are in the process and can dive right back in. So this is the daily planner that I wanted to share with you all. And it's a free resource for you. It's the Interior Designers Get It Done Daily Planner. It is the system that I have created for myself and for my clients. And it truly helps you just like the amount of stuff that people get done in a day once they adopt this approach is just incredible. So go to desicreswell.com/daily planner and download this resource. It gives you all the steps with how to use it. It's super easy. And what I love is that it really blends the mindset piece of this with the actionable strategies of planning out your day to increase your productivity and focus. And then it gives you points of reflection so that you can really make sure that what you're doing on a daily basis is aligning with your overall goals in your business so that you're not spending time spinning your wheels. So I want you to just take a minute and think about what are you going to take away from this conversation today? What's one thing that you can start implementing now? Or what's even one mindset shift that you've already had from doing this together? And then I want you to think in possibility about how if you were to really start working on the mindset piece of this and planning for results in your day, what the overall impact would be, not just on your business, but on your life, and how that would really affect things in terms of your capacity to really enjoy your business again and enjoy your life again. Because I do not want you feeling like this is a chore to be serving your clients, because I know that is not why you got into the industry. I also want to just briefly touch on some things that might get in your way as you move forward with this work, because I bet you are all feeling very energized and excited with a better understanding of how you could take this work to the next level. And I also want you to know that that enthusiasm will fade, because it's going to be time to plan out your day. It's going to be time to be really focused and work on one thing specifically, and you're not going to feel like doing it, or something else is going to sound more appealing. And so I want you to know that that is just totally normal and part of the process. And so when we start expecting that we don't want to do this, then it's like nothing's gone wrong. It's just a natural part of learning to create the focus for yourself, and you can decide then intentionally how you want to move forward. And you might feel even just like you've got this beginning of an action plan. And I want you to remember where we started here at the beginning of the call, where we were explaining how the how-to is just simply not enough. And that is where it's really important to blend the mindset with the strategies I've given you and the additional strategies you can find in that daily planner and also through my coaching programs. And it really, really helps to have the support along the way of a coach like myself or some other type of support system where you can be troubleshooting as you go and make sure that you are not diving in and getting stuck and then giving up. So these are challenges that we've talked about. I know and can speak to them so intimately because they are ones that I really faced as a designer myself, and it's the ones that I coach my clients on all of the time. And it's really why I've created my own group program out of overwhelm. And it's a 3-month program. It's a combination of teaching and coaching live with me. You've got a community of like-minded designers that are going to be there cheering you on along the way and offering to share resources and tools. And it's really going to be the support you need to finally make this the last time you have to deal with these problems. And you might even be thinking right now that like, well, I've got enough. I could probably go along and do this on my own. And it's not to say that you can't, but I do want to stress the importance of continually having someone else look at what you're doing and having them address the mindset piece of this. Because what I say is you cannot read the label from inside the bottle, and that is what coaching provides. That is why the mindset piece of this is so, so important. So I want you to know that if this work is really resonating with you, the Out of Overwhelm group is starting up on its next cohort at the beginning of April. And I would love to invite you guys to come and get the support that you need. This work has been incredible we've done today, but it is just going to 10x everything for you in your business. And it's going to completely shift the way you're approaching your day, the way you get to approach your life outside of business, and the amount of income that you're able to bring into your business as well, and just be going after your goals to get those clients you want in the door, those better, bigger clients, and having a process for not feeling so overwhelmed with the running of the business because you've got it under control. So you can go to desicreswell.com/coaching to find all the specifics of the program. And it'll list out all the topics. We talk about so many great things, such as like people pleasing, setting boundaries with clients, how to delegate effectively. We have an entire planner that is the download that I just gave you is a little snippet of what that is, but it's a whole system that I give you that you can practice through this 3 months with my support. We also talk about more of the mindset pieces and have that really live coaching component. So I'm consistently working through everything with you. So we start in April, and I want you to know that I have a very, very fun offer for you. So enrollment is only open through Monday. But if you hop on and click the enroll button and want to join me for this experience, I'm offering everyone who's attending this training here $500 off of the program. So all you have to do is go to desicreswell.com/coaching, and you're going to be able to click the enroll now button and use the code MART2021. So if that's something that you're interested in, please head on over there. And lastly, I just want to share a client example of this. And, one, to celebrate my clients, but also to show you an example of what is possible when you do this work. So Abby was a client of mine recently, and she was just so scattered when she came to me in terms of her focus was all over the place. She felt like she was stuck in her business. She wasn't moving forward, and she wasn't making the money she wanted to make, and she was working all these nights. And after we did this work together, Abby shared with me that she made more money while we were coaching together than she made in the entire 3 years combined that she had been in business. And she was now really focused on finding her best clients, doing the best work for them. And she was also finding that she just was able to actually go get her kids from preschool and be present with them. And so this is the reason that I do the work that I do. And I want you to know that that is really available to you as well. So take this as an example for yourself and start to dream about what you actually want your life and business to look like so that we can go about creating it. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of contact information before we hop into Q&A. I'm trying to keep an eye on the time there. But I would love for you to hop on over to Instagram and send me a message and let me know what your takeaways were from this. If you had a question that ends up not getting answered, I would be more than happy to answer it over there in the DMs. So you can find me at Desi Creswell, or you can email me, desi@desiid.com. And then again, I want you to have that special code. If you enroll in Out of Overwhelm, we kick off the beginning of April. You can get $500 off in the next few days. So just put in MART2021 and you can take me up on that offer. And then if you have any questions too about the program or if it's a good fit, feel free to reach out to me one of those ways as well.
Thank you so much, Desi. I'm going to jump in here because we have a lot of great questions that I want to spend a few minutes on.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that planner with you. Just to let everybody know, that is linked in the chat as well as the Q&A. So definitely go ahead and grab it in there. But there's definite some themes coming through with the questions. So the first one, obviously on everyone's mind lately, is the work from home. Right. So are there specific strategies to working from home that maybe you can share? And another question taking it a step further is, at what point would you recommend renting office space versus continuing to work from home?
Okay. Well, I love this question because I actually had a client who was in out of overwhelm a few rounds ago. And when I first talked to her, she was convinced that she needed to get an office space outside of her home because her husband and kids were driving her nuts. Now she has gone through the process and she doesn't need an office at all, which I just think is like such a testament to this work. But one of the things, just to like a quick tip that I would say with working from home is really set yourself up for success with expectations. And that's expectations for yourself and expectations of others. So what is the expectation you have of yourself of when is it that you're going to be working? We often don't define what our working hours are. And so we're either getting interrupted when no one even realizes we're working, or we are trying to work at all hours because we haven't set some boundaries for ourselves around that. So that would be my first step. And then also setting expectations with others who are in your household. No one's going to be able to read your mind unless you verbally tell them what is on your mind. That's like whatever relationship it is in your life. So if there's, a call that you have to take, or you want to say, I'm going to have this focus time for 2 hours, how can you communicate that to your kids, to the husband, whoever it is in your household, and say like, only if it's an emergency, you can come interrupt me. And I say this from experience because I have young kids too. And so that's being very clear with the expectation and also setting them up for success. So if your kids are a little bit younger, how can you make sure that they have everything they need in place so it's much less likely for them to interrupt you? So setting expectations is key there.
Great. In your personal and professional life, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's something we go into great detail in my program because it affects everything.
Mm-hmm. And certainly gray these days more than ever.
Very much so. Yeah.
So diving into, we have a bunch of questions about platform and application recommendations. In addition to kind of that daily planner you sent out, are there any recommendations for new project management software or pros and cons on note-taking tools like Evernote or other applications that you use and recommend to be successful?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So a lot of my clients love Asana. I personally love ClickUp. That is how I manage my team. And it's got a lot of great functionalities. But I'd say the number one thing with picking a system is just deciding to pick one and decide how long you're going to stay with it. Because what I see happen often is we system or program hop. And so we start investing time and energy into building out one platform or using one app. And then about a weekend, we're like, yeah, that's not working for me. I'm going to try this one. So we never put the time in to actually see if it's getting us the results or supporting us in the way that we actually want it to. So that's the main thing is pick one, stick with it, decide how long you're going to stick with it, and decide you're going to go all in on it until that date, and then reevaluate how you want to move forward.
Great. So some questions about staying focused and staying on tasks. I know you shared a wonderful example about blog posts and how to take that, list of tasks instead of just generic blog posts and really break it down into chunks, which I think was a great tip. But we have this question about tending to lose steam and confidence towards the end of the project, right? And how do you continue to start setting those, actionable goals for yourself? Any tips for that?
Losing steam, it's not possible to lose steam. That's just our thinking, right? We're thinking differently about what we have to do. So let's just say that first.
Sure.
But I think the biggest thing is planning it out in advance. So, I don't do projects anymore, but we can take a look at this from like my business plan. I have my business planned out in 30 or 90-day chunks. And so every project that I'm going to do for that 90 days is totally mapped out into these very incremental steps. So that way, as I start going through the work and we kind of lose a little interest and it's not feeling as exciting, I don't have to go into that brain space again of planning. It's already mapped out. And so you can do the exact same thing with your projects and have your whole project process mapped out and know what the deliverables are at certain points when you're going to be meeting with the client. I really recommend setting all meetings at the beginning of the project, so you know when those deliverables are due. So it's really the same approach. It's doing it on the front end. So that way, when we're getting in the weeds, kind of, we don't have to pull ourselves out and kind of reignite that type of thinking and energy.
Great. And how do you engage your teams?
What do you mean by engage?
It's just a question to keep them focused.
Oh, okay. That's okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So I recommend sharing this process with them, first of all. Also having some really regular check-ins and not expecting them again to necessarily have the bigger vision in mind for your business. So how can you connect what you're asking them to do with the broader vision and the broader goals? Because often the team gets a little disconnected and they're just the worker bees. And so they don't understand how what they're doing is really leading to the overall success of the company, which of course is to their benefit. So that is a really great way to keep people engaged or get them engaged.
Wonderful. So the last set of questions relates pretty specifically to the interior design profession. So maybe through your past experience or through your clients, you can kind of jump in here. One of them is, can you recommend the best way to identify components of projects that should be outsourced, whether that's rendering or budgeting, and what you've seen work well when sole proprietor is feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, so this is like my very favorite topic, is delegation. There's a whole module on it in the group. So when we're thinking about delegation, I also want to just say that it's not just delegation. We want to be looking at it from 3 points. We want to look at delete, which is where we're actually just getting rid of things. We're looking at delegation of handing that off. And then we want to look at automate too, because sometimes there's things in our business that we could actually automate one time, and then we don't have to pay another human to delegate it to. So I think it's important to look at it from those 3 sides. When I look at when I want to delegate, or when one of my clients is looking at delegating, we want to be looking at what could I be doing with that time instead. So often when we're delegating, it's someone who's like a $30 or $50 an hour job. So yes, it costs money to delegate, but we want to look, could I be serving a paying design client or out marketing and attracting a new client during that time? And what's the value of that? We also want to look at just what our natural skills are. So like take for tech, for example. I know that I am not a tech person. I know enough to know enough, but I would never be paying someone my hourly rate to do a subpar job on some website updates. And it's the same thing in your business. If you're not very skilled at rendering, why would you be paying someone a lot of money per hour to do something that doesn't look all that great when you could hand it off to an expert? So that's a great way to be thinking about, what can I be doing with that money instead? Great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Desi. That's all the time we have for today. And thank you everybody for joining us as well. If you're interested in checking out this presentation again, it has been recorded and will be on the Design Center YouTube page in just a few days. And check out designcenter.com for upcoming events, news, seminars, and more. Thank you so much, Desi. We appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure. And if any questions didn't get answered, again, feel free to just reach out to me directly.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.